Hey guys, it's Drac, and this is the answer video for the Q&A. Let's start off with a big thank you to you guys, the viewers. I got just a ton of great questions. A few of them repeated themselves, but that's no big deal. EOC and I went through them and picked out some of the best ones, and those are the ones that I will be answering. If you left your name, I am going to try and make a point of mentioning your name. I have a lot of questions to answer, and I will get into that in just a minute. If you're a super dedicated viewer, I'm sure that this video will be very long, and I appreciate you watching. You may not even want to watch the entire time. I will be pulling some props onto the screen from time to time, but it's not a huge deal. If you just want to listen to me, that's fine too. I do thank you for tuning in to the answer video. I'm sure it's going to be really long. I do have a war announcement for anybody in Southeast Nerf wants to get into the nerfing circuit. Anything like that. I will have a very large war announcement at the very end of this video. That's a big deal. That war will be this Saturday in Fayetteville. Huge war, gonna be great. Looking forward to it. The link will be in the description box. I basically told you everything, but I'll repeat it at the end of the video. Anyway, I will now jump into the questions. I do have my laptop here for the questions and the Coke because I get thirsty when I have to talk for long periods of time. MB asks, what's your favorite blaster currently in your possession, and what blaster do you not have and want to obtain? That's a great question. My favorite blaster currently in my possession is probably my radioactive Maverick. EOC has said some very nice things about this over the time that I've had it since I made it, and I'm not going to brag about it because I made it myself, but I'm very happy with this blaster. It was one of my most ambitious projects in that I wanted to make a rotating circuit and a prop blaster that fired well and functioned and lit up when I played with it at night and just did everything that I wanted to do, and it was a very successful project. So this is probably one of my favorite blasters. The Lilith is also probably my favorite blaster currently, but since I haven't revealed it yet, all the viewers told me that they wanted me to do a reveal when it was finished. I'll do that big reveal. But those are my favorite blasters. What do I not have and want to obtain? That's pretty easy. I want a red long shot very badly, but I've yet to find one from a viewer who's willing to make me a trade or a commission. I see them occasionally on eBay, but they're always just some crazy huge price, and I don't really want to pay that much for a stock long shot. But that's what I would like, a red long shot. Darylophagus, which is a pretty funky username, asks, since you enjoy modding and playing with Nerf guns, does that mean that you're interested in real weapons and possibly see yourself collecting in the future? Yes and no. I very much like bladed weapons. I've been collecting them my entire life. I have a couple of swords, a lot of knives, some folders, and some full pang. I've just enjoyed collecting bladed weapons. I even have a few goofy like throwing stars from Renaissance festivals that I've won at competitions and things. They're just really interesting. I've always liked bladed weapons. I usually carry a few with me at all times, and I think that they're very interesting. As far as actual firearms go, I have one firearm. I don't ever use it. I hope that I never have to, and I have no intention of collecting firearms into the future. The one that I have was passed on to me, and it is an heirloom, and that's all there is to that. Next question is, no offense, are you still dating Draculina? Because in her vid she was weird on her Q&A when she was talking about you. Yes, I'm still dating the Draculina. She's very sweet. In fact, she's right here filming this. She wants to wave and say hi. Hi. She can do that. She's also going to steal some of my Coke. She doesn't talk about me a ton in her Q&A because I greatly value my privacy and she respects that. Icicle asks, homemade or modded blasters, which do you like better? That's actually another question that can't be easily answered. It depends on what I'm doing. For HVZ, I really like modded blasters. I've always liked modded blasters. For NIC Wars, I like both modded blasters and homemades. It's no secret that I have a very dear love for my pump snap, which was made by Nerfomania. It's a fine homemade blaster indeed, and it looks good and performs well. Homemades have their place. They're usually very durable. You don't have to worry about beating them up. Sometimes modified blasters, especially the ones that you put a ton of paint into, you're worried about scuffing or playing too roughly with. But I like both of them. They each have their own specific place for different types of scenario and play. So I can't say which one I like better. Alpha Nerf asks, what is your favorite Nerf-related memory, and what was your very first Nerf gun, if you can remember? I have an answer for both of those. First off, the easy one, this was my first Nerf gun. This is a Midnight Maverick. It's from my house. It's from my youth. It still works great. The Maverick is such an iconic blaster, and this was its first iteration, is the stock Maverick. And the Midnight Maverick in its original paint job looks pretty cool. I like the deep blue with the yellow accenting and the silver. I like silver accenting on just about everything. And I just think that the Midnight Maverick is an iconic piece of Nerf history. I think it's the best-selling blaster of all time, and it's just really cool. So that was my first blaster. I got it when I was very young, probably when it came out. What is my favorite Nerf-related memory? If I had to choose one specific instance, it would be my first Nerf war down in Florida, my first real Nerf war that I drove to a while ago that Rogue hosted, and in general just Southeast Nerf. It's really the best community for Nerf that I've found so far, and they're just so warm and welcoming, and I had no idea what I was doing at my first war, and everybody was just so happy to loan blasters and darts, and the raffles that we do are just great. It's a really easy hobby to get into. The friendships that I've made have certainly stood the test of time, and everybody's just so warm and inviting and helpful, and it's a community that really builds itself up, which is just awesome. So that's my favorite Nerf-related memory. I guess it's just the community in general for Southeast Nerf, but if I had to pick one, my first war. My next question is anonymous. It's, you use the word quirky a lot. What does it mean? I use the word quirky a lot because I like it. I think it's a more polite way of wording weird. But I guess if I had to define it really quickly, it means weird, a little silly, offbeat, off kilter. A lot of my mods are quirky in that they're things that I've either seen and made my own by tweaking them, or they're quirky in that I think that they're just a little weird because maybe they don't have a specific purpose, but I did them for fun or because I was bored. And some of my paint jobs are quirky because I'm colorblind, so a lot of my projects turn out quirky, and I think that the politest way to say that is not that they're weird, but that they're quirky. I like quirky people too. They tend to be more interesting. A Fruit Salad asks, how many blasters do you currently have and how many of them are still stock? Best way to answer that is look at my latest Arsenal video. Not a ton changes. I have easily over 100 blasters, and I'm sure that plenty of them are stock. I probably have over 100 stock blasters and then 100 modded ones to boot. I just have a very large armory, so check out my armory or Arsenal videos. I'm sure you'll get a rough ballpark idea. Kimosabi asks, what Nerf gun modification are you most proud of, and what homemade are you most proud of? Probably most proud of my Radioactive Maverick or the Lilith. That's going to be the answer to a lot of things, a dual answer of sorts. The circuitry in this was just really cool, and I'm glad that it works. The Lilith is just a gorgeous blaster, and I can't wait to unveil it. I guess I'll give a quick hint. This is the last part that I'm trying to work on for the Lilith. In fact, both of these parts need to be put onto a special barrel, so there's a huge hint, and they're not painted yet and they need to be integrated, but I'm making a custom hopper barrel assembly thing for the Lilith, and I'm very much enjoying working on that. What homemade am I most proud of? Easily my Nerfomania made pump snap. I think that this is quite possibly the finest pump snap in existence. And I mean that with great respect to Nerfomania. As a craftsman, his work is truly peerless in the homemade field. I don't think I've ever seen a homemade, with the possible exception of Louis III's stuff, that compares, and the amount of time and effort that he put into my pump snap just means the world to me. It's just a beautiful piece of nerfing hardware, and it works really well and it looks great. So that's what I'm most proud of. He calls it his masterpiece, and I'm proud to own it myself. AC Nerf Shop asks, I was wondering if you still have the long shot we traded to you a while back. If so, how often do you use it? And if not, what happened to it? Yes and no. I gutted the long shot that you sent to me a while back and sent it to Rogue because he's supposed to be making me some custom internals for the Fang shot. He recently had a bit of trouble, so that's had a very long delay, but I'm sure he'll get back to it when he gets back on his feet. I'm looking forward to that. So yes, I still have it. No, it's not currently in my possession. Yada yada yada. Somebody asks, what do you study in university? And how did nerfing interfere with that? I don't really think of it so much as interference, and you are a foreign viewer, so maybe we're having a miscommunication in the translation. I translated your question as best I could. I study engineering, and it helps greatly with my nerfing career. All the principles of engineering work well with nerfing, and it's basically the concepts and fundamentals for this hobby are engineering. Everybody who's a nerfer I would consider an engineer. If you can build your own blaster and make it better, that's what an engineer does. He solves a problem and makes things better. So it's been incredibly influential and helpful in my nerfing. David asks, what do you like more, the crossbow or the long shot? Everyone loves the crossbow, but I'm more of a long shot kind of guy. I love the long shot, I love making Spartan shots, I love working with them, but it's hard to beat the crossbow. I really like the crossbow. You can modify it for just about any occasion. It's sleek, it's comfortable, so is the long shot, and it's got that awesome, cool vintage factor. So I think that if I had to choose between the two, and it's a tough choice, I'd definitely choose the crossbow just because I think that they're really cool and I like that entire line and look that they have to it. Catastrophic Christian asks, do you like pancakes? Yes, I like pancakes. They're delicious, and they're one of the few foods that I'll actually eat for breakfast. I like dousing them in the blood of my enemies, and that is a fine syrup for pancakes. iModify asks, what is your favorite blaster that you have modified? Again, we're going to do the dual answer of either the Radioactive Maverick or the Lilith. And we may have to toss in the Death Dealer into that because I did all the modifications from that myself, and it's just performed well and above all expectations. I love the Death Dealer. So those would be the top three. If I had to pick one, probably the Lilith. Drac, Germ has quit Nerf. Are you going to quit at any time in the future? From Viet. No, Viet, I don't plan on quitting Nerf at any point in the future. I love this hobby. I love the friends I've made in it. I love doing it after classes and before homework. I love everything about this hobby. I love the tools that I get to use and the principles that I get to explore while doing it. I love the community. I would never quit on you guys. I don't know why Germ has quit, and it's a serious loss to the community. I hope he comes back soon. Skylar says, what is your favorite type of cheese? I asked the Draculina and she said Swiss. Tough choice. As a Greek person, I love feta cheese, but I also have a special place in my heart for Gruyère's cheese. For those of you that don't know, Gruyère's cheese is a Swiss kind of cheese. It comes from the city of Gruyère's, where the entire town smells like cheese. Gruyère's is home to the Geiger Bar and his museum, as well as a castle, I believe. I just love the city of Gruyère's and the cheese. It makes a phenomenal fondue. So I can't choose one because my countrymen would hate me in entirety if I didn't mention feta. But I love Gruyère's cheese and I love feta cheese. They're both absolutely excellent choices. Swiss is alright too. Hey Drac, huge fan. What was your first Nerf gun? What was your best modded Nerf gun ever? If you can, include my name, Super Carboy 2, and that would be phenomenal. Okay, well, my first Nerf gun was the Midnight Maverick, and my best modded gun ever. I can't even get into that. It would take forever to answer. There's no such thing as a best modded gun, because the best modded blaster would be catered to a specific occasion. I think that If you're looking for a pistol, it's X. If you're looking for a rifle, it's Y. If you're doing an NIC game type, it's Z, where Z is probably pump snap. If you're doing anything else like HVZ, it's probably an Alpha Trooper. So there's no such thing as the best modded gun ever. How and when did you start doing Nerf and getting involved in the NIC, and why do you prefer Nerf over airsoft and paintball? I know that this is a very popular question, but I'm really interested in your opinion. That one's from Did Maui. Let's see, how did I start doing Nerf? I had Nerf guns as a child and I've always liked toy blasters. How did I get involved in the NIC? My good friend EOC told me about the NIC while I was playing HVZ with him. That's a lot of acronyms. NIC, for those of you that don't know, stands for Nerf Internet Community, and you guys would be a big part of that. Thanks, YouTube Nerf. Why do I prefer Nerf over airsoft and paintball? I played casual airsoft and tournament paintball for a while, and the issue with both of those sports seems to be that they're very much driven by money. You've got to pay field fees, air fees, paint fees, buy your paint. All the ammo is reasonably disposable. I know you can reuse some airsoft BBs, but you have to be crazy to go around picking them up. They're both very expensive, and it seems like in a lot of ways your effectiveness in both of those sports is determined by how much money you throw at them. And that's not the case in Nerf. In Nerf, it's all about what you put into it and how you work for it, and you can make your own stuff and make your own gear or armor or however you want to go about it. Nerf can truly be your own hobby, and you can make it your own. So that's what I really love about Nerf. I love how involved people can get in making and selling and doing whatever they want with the hobby. You can just make it your own, and I think that that's really cool and really special. I think that being involved in the process of creating what you want to play with is just awesome, especially in modern times where we live in such a disposable sort of way. Like, it broke, throw it away. Well, maybe in Nerf, it breaks, make something better. That's just really cool to me. Jeffrey Sturmer asks, okay, so my question is, do you still HVZ, and do you ever die, and could you do more vidocs of it? Love to do more vidocs of it. We'll probably get to that later. Do I ever die? Of course. Nobody's got a flawless HVZ record. Nobody's perfect. I have lost a couple of games, and yes, I still do HVZ. I love HVZ. The Vigilante says, Drac, simple question. Which side do you fall on in our epic battle? PlayStation 3 like Bobo and I, or those ravenous barbarians, the Xbox 360 players? Let me think about that. I haven't played video games in a very long time. I used to be very into Halo, which was my favorite video game for some time. I also liked Doom and the like. I liked a lot of classic video games, but the modern video game I played was Halo, all the way up through Halo 3, at which point I kinda stopped gaming. So I guess that would make me a ravenous barbarian, because I did very much like my Xbox 360. I don't really play anymore though, so I guess I'm not part of your epic battle. Raul asks, that was weird. Raul asks, if you could eat one food for a month, what would it be? It's an interesting question. If I had to choose one, it would have to be blood. I can sustain on that for a massive amount of time. If it had to be non-blood, it would probably be lamb. I love lamb and lamb blood. Lamb is an excellent food. It's just awesome stuff. Gnarwilly, it's another strange username, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, says, congrats on becoming the most popular Nerfer on YouTube. Thank you! And his question is, how did you get into Nerf in the first place, and what is your favorite rail attachment, if any? Let me see if the Death Dealer is sitting around here anywhere. Doesn't look like it's handy, so I will just mention that my favorite rail attachment is easily the Nerf Red Dot sight. It is by far and above the best and most useful rail attachment of any kind. I also like that it's got this kind of flat ramp up into it, which makes it really easy to duct tape my camera to. So I can get some first person footage by duct taping my camera to my Red Dot sight, and it works as a very great camera mount. It's reasonably sturdy and it locks onto just about any blaster, so that's cool. I like the Red Dot sight. I think that that's the best. How did I get into Nerf in the first place? I grew up with it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I have some younger brothers, so we used to Nerf together, and yada yada yada. Went to college, started playing HVZ, got back into it, and got really into the modding community. Nerf Lover 48 asks, Drac, what is your favorite all-time Nerf commission you have ever done? I love all of the Spartan shots equally. I've sent quite a few of them away and overseas, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be the Ice Drake. The Ice Drake was just a really fun blaster to make. I've stayed in touch with the person that I sent it to. He sent me all sorts of pictures of him using it. I know that he enjoys using it, which makes me happy. I love to know that my commissions go to homes where they see constant battle and get shown off. That's just really cool. I also like that it had the detachable Maverick and the long strike barrel attachment. I just thought that that was a neat feature. I'm glad that I kinda lucked my way and tinkered my way into it, and it looked great. The silver on the green was just really cool. I wish I could dredge up a picture of it and put it like right there, but it's just cool. DGO Dugalubi asks, what are the rarest blasters that I have? The rarest blasters that I'd have probably be like my crossbows, my lock and loads, and I have a vintage Coos Firestorm. I think that that's pretty rare. I am looking around as I answer this question. I think that the Firestorm, these are Coos rings, by the way. Yeah, that's probably it. I think that my Supermax 750s are pretty rare, but that's about it. Probably my Manta Rays as well. I have a few Manta Rays. I love the Manta Rays. I have a few of the rare blasters out there. So those would be my rarest blasters. Ayo, what's up 14? That's a great username. I couldn't help but say it that way. Why did you start making Nerf mods? Who inspires me? I started making Nerf mods for myself. I wanted to be a better HVZ player and a better Nerfer. Then I started making the videos because I wanted to help others be better Nerfers. Who inspires me? Easily FA24. Forsaken Angel 24 is my big inspiration in the Nerfing community. He was, and still is, he competes, and he's just a really great Nerfer. He's a great competitor. He made awesome mods. He changed the field. The Doomsayer is incredible. He's just a really cool Nerfer, and I'm very much so inspired by him. His YouTube channel was the big Nerf channel before anybody really had a professional styled Nerf YouTube channel. There was FA24. It's a pity he doesn't make too many videos anymore. He's just a really great Nerfer, and I hope to meet him in person one day. So that would be who inspires me. Levy Watkins asks, what is your name? My name is Drac. If you haven't figured that out by now, you probably should pay more attention to my videos. I had a long stream of questions from Mad Hatter, and they're just all great, so I'm going to run through them bullet point style. How far are you willing to drive for a Nerf war? Depends on the price of gas. The farthest I've ever driven is about 10 hours, and I'd be willing to do whatever it took to go to just an awesome Nerf war. I'm thinking about going up north to see some of their Nerf wars, but I'd have to take a couple of buddies with me to split the cost of gas. Gas is just really expensive these days. If you could pick a dreams team of sports stars, celebrities, or other people to make the ultimate Nerf war team, who would you pick? Hands down, physicists. Like famous physicists and scientists throughout the years. We're talking like Aristotle, Albert Einstein, maybe like crazy book writers. I don't know, just crazy sci-fi people. I would definitely not pick like football players or baseball players. It's too easy to go the celebrity route. I'd pick like geniuses, and they'd make me the coolest blasters and armor in forever, and that'd just be awesome. What would be the most time-consuming, hardest mod you've ever done? Easily my first Angel Breach. That took forever. The Angel Breach is an incredibly complicated mod. I don't care what anybody says. That is a pain. The first time you try to put together an Angel Breach, you better be ready. I tried to do it with my old Dremel from my older videos, which was handheld. The battery would die as it was trying to cut the brass. It was just a nightmare of a project. I believe it spanned 4 days. Wow, what an ordeal. Just thinking about it makes me tired. Which mod was the surprisingly easiest and that I thought was going to be a pain? So I guess if I try not to butcher that one, is which mod was easy that I thought was going to be a pain? Probably the first mods I was doing. I thought that they'd be really complicated, and I got really good at Mavericks, so I guess that Mavericks, my first mods in general, I thought they were going to be really tricky, and it turned out to be pretty easy. What do you do with all the modded blasters that you make for your tutorials? Are they used regularly, or do they hang somewhere, or are they given out? The best answer is that I still have most of them, and they do see regular combat. Whenever I go to Nerf Wars or casual things on campus, or HVZ matches, particularly for HVZ, I do loan them out along with darts for the duration of the game to people in my army, and we just rock the field because we have a ton of great modded blasters. A lot of the Orange ModWorks demo kits are turned into loaner blasters for HVZ games, so they all sit in a bin waiting for my friends to come over and just pick one out and use it for an HVZ game or a day of Nerf. What is your favorite modded blaster, stock blaster, and which are you most excited about in the upcoming series to be launched this year? My favorite modded blaster, probably the crossbow or a Maverick. My favorite stock blaster would have to be the Alpha Trooper. There's no better deal than the Alpha Trooper in terms of a stock blaster. What are you most excited about in the upcoming series to be launched this year? Not too terribly stoked about the Elite series, but I think that it does have some interesting concepts. I'm looking forward to the Hailfire, if for no other reason than to put 6 or 8 or however many clips it accepts, Stampede clips and like Raider drums in there, just to be crazy and see how much maximum dart storage I can get out of it. The Elite Barricade and Raider and Recon don't excite me too much because I don't really like the idea of redoing them. Although the direct plunger internals will be cool, I don't know how much we can push out of a plunger tube that size. It is very cool. Let's see. How long have you been nerfing and how long have you been doing modifications? I guess I've been nerfing forever, and I've been doing modifications seriously for I think 2 years now, and that's my list of questions. Okay. Glar Omnomnom says, "My lord, are you Greek?" I love the formal title on that one. That's very cool. I am indeed Greek. I come from Greece, and I love my Greek heritage. In fact, I wear a Greek ring at almost all times. It's a reminder of my culture. Hey Drac, my question is, could you create a perfect replica of any Nerf gun in any movie, comic book, video, or video game? What would it be? Keep up the great work. That's from Tim Drake, the Red Robin. I would very much like to have Malcolm Reynolds' pistol from Firefly or an assault rifle from Halo. Those are both very cool blasters. I'd like to have working Nerf replicas of each. Questions from PD2525. How do you store and carry your clips for HVZ? You comment on them a lot, and I'd like to know if it makes any sense beyond lots of pockets. I wish to tell you that there was some sort of secret to it, but trip pants just have really deep, large pockets, and that's how I carry them. They stay secure and they're easy to grab, so I just use a lot of pockets. Hey guys, so I just realized that this video is 30 minutes in already. I'm going to try and finish it up. We're a little over halfway there. That's just crazy. Any fan who can hear me right now that's listened to 30 minutes of my rambling, thanks. There's no other way to phrase that. Just thank you for being such a dedicated viewer. You also might be partially crazy. Anyway, the question that I was on when my memory ran out of space was, the first question has already been asked, but I'll ask anyway. What is the farthest you have ever traveled for a Nerf war? 10 hours. And I loved every minute of it. I like to go to wars with EOC. We usually split the driving, and it's just a ton of fun. We caravan down there. UK Nerf War also asks, I often find it difficult to keep Nerf separated from everyday work life, so my question is, have you ever gotten in trouble for inappropriate nerfing? Yes. Yes, I have. It involved birds air blasters, and poor decisions. And that's all I think I can legally say about it. Finally, what is the most you have ever paid for a blaster? In hindsight, was it worth it? I've paid over $100 for a crossbow at one point, and it was definitely worth it. I love crossbows. I think that they are a sound investment. Chinanio 2010, I recognize that username, says modding versus homemade, Nerf versus off-brand, CPVC versus brass, polycarb homemades versus PVC homemades, modding rare vintage blasters, springers versus airguns, domes versus slugs, hoppers versus RSCBs versus inline clips, speed loaders versus breeches, bows, question mark, alternative ammo, question mark, don't these look familiar? Well, Shinanio, you probably thought that I was going to skip this one, but I will answer all of your questions because I'm cool like that. Modding versus homemade, probably modding. Nerf versus off-brand, it's Nerf or nothing. CPVC versus brass, CPVC because it's cheaper and less obnoxious. Polycarb homemades versus PVC homemades, polycarb homemades definitely because they're clear, and clear blasters are boss. Modding rare / vintage blasters, absolutely go for it. Springers versus airguns, springers because rate of fire wins games. Domes versus slugs, always domes because they go faster, but slugs because they're easier to make, so no, there is no answer. Hoppers versus RSCBs versus inline clips, hoppers because they work well. Speed loaders versus breeches, we're definitely going to say speed loaders because they're awesome. They can't chop darts either. Bows, question mark, absolutely. I don't know what the question is, but bows are great. I like bows, especially crossbows, bows and arrows, big bad bows, homemade bows. There's always winning with bows. Alternative ammo, in terms of arrows, missiles, etc., blah, blah, blah. Sure, especially in a wild card round, they're tons of fun. I like putting arrows on my pump snap and launching them with the force of a Stefan behind them. So alternative ammo is always a good idea, except it never is. So how's that for a definitive answer, Chinanio? Brooke asks, have you heard of Alucard from Castlevania, Symphony of the Night? I know you're a big fan of Alucard from the anime series Hellsing, and I just wondered if you had ever played that gem of a game before, and if you haven't, I highly recommend picking it up. I play it once or twice a year on average. No, I've never heard of Alucard from Castlevania. I'd love to hear more about it in the comment section below, and then I'll decide whether or not to emulate the game and take a look at it. Because I don't have an original PlayStation. What is your favorite type of alternative ammo? Ballistic balls, Koosh rings, big bad bow arrows, vortex discs, crossbow arrows, etc. Easily Koosh rings. I love my Koosh Firestorm. I like spin fire rings. I have Koosh rings all over the place. Draculina just threw one at me, but they're all over the place. They're just lots of fun. What is your favorite type of Stefan slug that you have ever used? Rogue makes excellent dome-type Stefans that are great. The original Southeast style slugs that we make out of the pink foam are also great, and I think that would probably be my two top answers. I actually make a very mean glow-in-the-dark Stefan that I think is really cool, so it's all about barrel fit. It doesn't really matter as long as you've got somebody who knows what they're doing making the dart. It's about barrel fit, so there's no best type. It depends on what blaster you're using. Griever asks, in your opinion, not counting / using homemade blasters, what is the best Nerf / any brand blaster that one can use for an NIC war that is accessible and doesn't cost a kidney like the crossbow? Well, since you barred the crossbow, we probably have to go into Erdl territory, which means that you're looking at either a pass, which is a pump-action shotgun, or a rapid-fire shotgun, both of which can usually be purchased for around or under $50, which I believe is cheaper than a kidney, and they both make excellent primaries. Anonymous asks, when In-Strike Elite is released, and if they perform as promised, will you use one instead of the Death Dealer? The answer is absolutely not. The Death Dealer is a peerless HVZ blaster. I have never seen any human in an HVZ competition better equipped than the Death Dealer. It's just an awesome blaster. It perfectly blends lightweight, utility, attachments, rate of fire, distance, clips, reloadability. It's just the perfect HVZ blaster, so I have no intention of ever replacing it. And no matter how nice the In-Strike Elite line is, even if the N-Strike Elite line is better by some miracle, which I doubt it will be, I would never give up the Death Dealer. It's seen way too much zombie slaying combat in my hands for me to let it go. Out of all my blasters, it's probably got the most sentimental value. Do you ever use any of your 9,000 plus Vantage swords? If not, do you like melee weapons in general? That one's funny to me, but you guys have actually never had the pleasure of seeing, I guess, how I compete in pistol rounds at NIC competitions, and if you ever do come to an NIC competition, you'll realize that this question is a little silly. Not only do I use all of my Vantage swords, I use them all at the same time. Rogue on Nerf Revolution changed my user tagline to Resident Sword Dancer because during pistol rounds, not only do I block darts with swords, I throw swords, I have figured out a way to crouch into a ball and cover my body almost entirely with swords. I love melee weapons. Melee weapons are a ton of fun. Occasionally, an opponent is foolish enough to bring a sword of their own to a Nerf war, and they often challenge me to duels, and I have never once lost one. The entire Southeast Nerf can attest to that. Some of them say that it's because I have spaghetti arms, which mean that I am cheating somehow in these sword duels. But I'm very good at using melee weapons. I love them, and I do use many at the same time, sometimes as many as 11. Let's see. Michael says that he is an HVZer just like me. He watched my announcement video and has two questions. The first one is, what was your very first zombie kill in a full-out HVZ game? Was it rushing you? Were you alone? Was it alone? Were you nervous or in BAMF mode? And give us the details. Let's see. My first zombie kill in my first HVZ game, I was actually one of the foolish noobs that went out at midnight on night one of the first game, and I was like, we're gonna go zombie hunting, which by the way is stupid. Don't do that. The vets will laugh at you. But I did it. My group was ambushed by the OZ. The OZ managed to tag 2 people in the back of my group before I turned around and shot him with 2 Mavericks that I was dual wielding on night 1 at the same time. So I was not nervous because I didn't have time to get nervous, so I guess I was in BAMF mode. It was rushing me, it had the intent of doing so, I was not alone, it was alone. So there are the details, Michael. His number 2 question is, it only applies if it doesn't already exist on your channel and I just haven't already found it. Would you ever consider using an in-game camera such as a GoPro to bring us along for the ride while you blast the undead? It's nice to hear you talk about it, but to see it would be even cooler. I actually have a lot of first-person shooter footage from my HVZ and NIC games. The thing that has prevented me from uploading it is that I don't have editing software. If you'll notice in all of my videos, they have very abrupt cuts and transitions. That's because I use the YouTube video editor, which is excellent, Google. Don't kill my video, Google. Google has a nice YouTube video editor, but I don't have a personal one, so I do all of my editing on YouTube, which makes it very difficult to edit. So that's how I edit. That's the reason I haven't uploaded a lot of this footage. I really need to get one of my friends that's better at video editing to make a couple of compilation videos of my combat to upload and show you guys and share with you. Anonymous asks, what Nerfer is your favorite / are you most inspired by? The question would be separate, actually. My favorite Nerfer is not the one that inspires me the most. My favorite Nerfer would have to be EOC Dragon or Mired Thoughts. Not only does he help me run the Foam Nation, and we go to all of the Nerf wars together, but he's also the best wingman for any competition you could ever ask for. Our play styles mesh very well. He's also my best friend. He's just a great Nerfer. He helps me with my mods occasionally. I think it's very important to have a friend like that when you want to take up a hobby like Nerfing. He's a great soundboard for ideas, and I'm going to start ranting way too much. The Nerfer that inspires me the most is FA24. I've talked about that earlier. So that is the answer to that. Dachich, that's an interesting username, says, hey Drac, got some questions for you. What Nerf gun is the Lilith being based off of? That's your hint. That's all you get. Everybody has told me that they want the Lilith to be a big release all in one video, so I'm just going to give away a hint. I'm not going to give away too much. This is the hint. Still working on that last piece, but it's finished and functional. It should be up soon. And then if you could be any superhero, what would it be? Because of the way this is phrased, I believe my translation is a little funky. I think it might be, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? If I had to be a superhero, I would be a Nova Centurion from the Marvelverse. I think that the Nova guys are pretty cool. Richard Rider is pretty awesome. If I could have any superpower, what would it be? Easily flight, hands down. Flying is awesome. That's all there is to that. Flying would be cool. Zoflex asks, "Hey Drac, this is Zoflex. My question is, how many Nerf Wars have you won, and how much of an advantage do your mods give you in them?" That's an interesting question. I win a lot of the rounds, and I'm not just trying to brag. I do win very frequently at NIC Wars, and I've won very many HVZ games in that I either survived or I was the last human. My mods do give me an advantage in both scenarios. In HVZ, obviously having the Death Dealer at my side makes things a lot easier. In Nerf Wars, a lot of my pistols that I mod myself are very helpful. Occasionally I do play with primaries that I make myself, like funky long shots or goofy blasters like the Hoppa Blast, just quirky things. I will be playing with the Lilith very soon, but they don't give me so much of an advantage, as people like to forget that the Nerfer is just as much of a part of the equation for victory, I guess, as the blaster. So I like to think that keeping in shape and running really fast helps me more than any one blaster in particular in any sort of Nerf competition. Running fast is good. Why did you start modifying blasters? I started modifying blasters for fun, and because I wanted to have blasters that work better for all the games I played. Which Nerf blaster do you think is the best value for money? Hands down, Alpha Trooper. It's just a great blaster. For $20 you get the drum, 18 darts, and what I think is the best of the inverse blaster plunger line. It's got all the compactness of a Recon and the pump action slam fire of the Raiders. Just a great blaster, and for 20 bucks it's really hard to beat. It is a Target exclusive though. Blink L780 asks, "Where do you suggest we buy stock blasters? I realize that some blasters are exclusive, but barring that, where have you had the best prices in the past?" The best way to buy stock blasters, I think, is actually to go to grocery stores around major holidays. I know that Kroger stocks a lot of Nerf guns, and as soon as that holiday is over, they drop like rocks. You can buy Mavericks for $2, Night Finders for $1. It's just crazy. It's a really great deal. Other than that, if you're looking for a year-round thing, Toys R Us frequently does a buy one, get one half off Nerf thing, and even though their prices are a little inflated, that's a great way to get blasters, especially if you buy like with a friend and you split that discount. You can get Stampedes for close to 25 to 30 bucks, and they have a lot of exclusives that are also very cool. So that would be where I would buy Nerf blasters on the cheap. That is the conclusion of all of my questions, which is good because my camera's dying. First the memory went and now it's trying to die on me. Go figure. What an exhausting video. Thank you again for all of your wonderful questions. If you want me to do this again in the future and I missed some questions, that would be absolutely fine. I'd love to do another Q&A, probably a shorter one than this because this took forever. Anybody who sat through the entirety of this video is my sincerest thanks. Thank you for watching. I mean that when I say that. I do want to make one last mention of Namne, which is the war that I am going to this Saturday. It's a huge deal, huge war. There are going to be a lot of big name Nerfers there. Again, I don't know if I count as a big name Nerfer quite yet, but I've been to a few wars and I'm looking forward to this one. Nerfomania will be hosting. All of the guys will be there. It's going to be really great. It's going to be in Fayetteville, Georgia. It's worth driving very far for. I would honestly drive 10 hours for this war easily. I've driven 10 hours for wars in Florida, and they weren't nearly as cool as Namne is. Namne is probably one of the best venues. We've got a great field, great dart recovery, great Nerfers, great sportsmanship. It's hard to beat Namne. I know that this war is just going to be awesome. I'm pumped. I'm finishing the Lilith for its big reveal there. I'm going to have to get back to that, so I will post a link to the Namne War thread. Anybody in the Southeast who has any interest in nerfing should definitely come. Check out that war link. in the description box to get more information on that. And thanks for watching.